Some jobs are just too important, and it's best to leave to the pros. This is one of them. Mr. and Mrs. Workbench-Z are getting a new roof. I'm Steve, this is Workbench-Z. We're getting a new roof. With me is...
My name is Nolan DiDonato. I work for CC Carpentry Incorporated and kind of specialize in property inspections for storm damage. As you saw today when you came home, the shingles were delivered by the supplier today, and they roof loaded everything up there, so when the guys get here they have everything up there for them to install. But first thing they're going to do is pull the dump trailer in, set that up, but then you have here 7:30 probably in the morning, so all the debris could go into there.
So the first thing they're going to do is spread tarps?
Yep, so put tarps in the yard to catch all the debris. Also protect, plants, pots, anything like that as well. It also helps with cleaning up for them rather than kind of going up and trying to pick up all this individual nails or something out. Falls on the tarp, they could just bundle the tarp up, bring it over to the trailer, and then kind of just empty it that way as well. What they will do to start the roofing process for you is they are going to remove all the existing shingles, sheeting, flashing that you have from up there, everything down to the plywood. And then they get up on the roof and start tearing it off. What they use is a roof shovel, has teeth kind of at the bottom of it to rip up all the shingles, underlayment, flashing, everything down to the plywood. That drip edge is a aluminum flashing that goes on, again, all the eaves, behind the gutters, and then all the rakes as well. That is to prevent from wind-driven rain, as well as if you see snow sitting on there as well in the corners and stuff like that, if it's melting. But it's really to help prevent from that wind-driven rain when we have a lot of storms and the water gets pushed kind of into the sides or the edges of the perimeter of the roof. That flashing will act to kind of prevent that and knock that away from the water getting in there on the sides.
So what is the ice and water shield?
So ice and water shield is actually a Virginia building code. It's probably code in most states and areas, to be honest, but it is a leak barrier, and it's to help prevent leaks. And where that ice and water shield goes, or at least it's code at, is on the eaves and then anywhere you have valleys. And that's because when we have snow or ice damming or things like that, those are going to be, or heavy rains, those are going to be the areas that see the most traffic of water coming through down the valleys or at the end of the eaves where it's going into your gutters at. So that leak barrier goes on there as an extra layer of protection for you.
So like if the gutter gets all jammed up with ice and snow and the water can't get into the gutter, it'll puddle behind that ice dam. This protects the sheeting and...
Correct. It'll protect, like you said, the OSB, the plywood, the sheething up there, so it does not rot on you, and then you need to rip up the shingles and kind of go through that process of replacing the sheathing for yourself. Another thing, the felt paper that we're putting up there for you.
Yep.
Most
You're
homes,
using synthetic, right?
Correct. Most homes currently have the 15-pound felt or 30-pound felt, the black kind of paper stuff.
Yeah.
It's builder grade, it's pretty standard. Now what we're going to put up for you is a synthetic felt. It's almost like a tarp, so it's kind of pretty hard to rip and everything, but it just gives that nice water kind of sheddability. So if water does get under the shingles, because it can happen, rather than the 15-pound felt kind of soaking it up and absorbing it, the synthetic will have it kind of roll down it to where it needs to release from the edges of the roof to get to the gutters, so that way it can traffic out and not get stuck and kind of get in your rafters and create leaks that kind of have to be had.
Kind of like a super Tyvek for roofs?
Absolutely, that's literally what it is. So newer homes are probably put on with synthetic felt, I would believe. I'm not sure the building code, but it is a step above, and to be quite honest, it's just the better way and best way to put on a roof for you to make sure that you don't have any leaks, and in a sense we're neighbors and everything, but that way you're not calling me here in another year saying I got water damage. Yes, absolutely. So that really helps with that. If there's any rotten plywood up there, we do replace it for you to make sure we're nailing into a nailable surface so the nail holds for you. I know some areas Steve had up there was near his ridge vent. We originally looked at it, had some leaks, and that's what an area we'll be looking at to make sure that plywood is in good condition to hold a nail. I'm glad we're doing this, because this is something I totally forgot to tell you when we went over everything to begin with is, there's thousands of nails coming off that roof.
Yes.
Thousands going back up.
Yeah.
I'd be a liar if I told you we were going to get every single one out of the yard.
I understand.
We'd be careful when it's all done. Don't run around barefoot out there. Not that you guys do or anything now, but
just the dog.
So yeah, just be careful. And I tell everyone, if you do notice a lot of nails, feel free to call me and come back to do another nail sweep for you. Once all that is dried in and airtight, they then start the shingling process of putting the shingles up by cutting them 6, 11, and 17 inches, and then start putting them on. Make sure you kind of put them on correctly, because it doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes you could look at a roof and you can almost see like it was basically racked on. It's just manufacturer specifications, but it helps give it that wind warranty that Owens Corning has of 130 mile an hour winds with the Owens Corning duration shingles that we're putting on there for you.
So you're talking about the seams are staggered between each shingle sheet.
Correct. So when they start your roof tomorrow, and you see, they're not just going to start with one shingle kind of on this side and just start going up and then kind of just putting them on. They're going to cut it 6, 11, and 17. So the first shingle will be cut 6 inches, then 11, then 17 for it to go up. So it gives it that nice architectural look that we're looking for. Once the shingles go up, you also will get all new flashings around everything. So what your also home has, and part of the drying process a little bit as well, is the step flashing. Siding meets the roof, there's step flashing that goes up it facing, or they call it L flashing because it kind of makes an L.
Like where the garage roof meets the rest of the house.
Correct. All that flashing will be changed as well, and not mainly because it's damaged by the storm or anything like that, but it's aluminum, so when we're ripping up the shingles, that's going to get ripped up because most of the time too, that flashing is nailed in, so it's got to come out. Same thing with your apron flashing. That's the flashing right above your porch, right under the windows kind of that you can see. Same thing when you're ripping it up, it's aluminum. Sometimes someone might try to reuse it and be careful with it. To me, if you're redoing a whole roof, you should redo that aluminum flashing.
Makes good sense.
Yes. Again, make sure it's all sealed correctly, new material, again, so it doesn't leak on it.
So what is a square?
So square is a 10 by 10.
Okay.
So, and they 27, so really, 2,700 net square feet up there on the roof. Once the flashing's all replaced, the last step they do is your ridge vent. That's the issues you were having currently with an aluminum ridge vent. They're very light, not super durable, so if we do ever get good winds, kind of like we've had.
And the fasteners had no protection other than gooking some sealant on top of them.
And if it's old, that gets, kind of crackly, comes off, and then if you get high winds, kind of lifts up the ridge vent a little bit, and if you're getting that rain, pushing it in at the same time, and then like you said, water will travel its way on rafters and go wherever it wants to go in a sense. So the ridge vent we put on there is called a Snow Country kind of Cobra Attic ridge vent. It's a PVC plastic material that's going to flex over the ridge. Still has the ventilation system on it, but then now too, we're going to put ridge cap shingles over top of it.
Okay.
Makes it heavier, also too, if it hails or anything like that, makes it more durable, so it's not going to really damage your aluminum ridge vent like hail would too if we had a storm like that as well. That also too will then seal up the entire roof at that point. Like I said, Owens Corning duration shingles have a wind warranty up to 130 mile an hour winds. Typically, we don't get winds. We don't get winds like that. We probably would be missing a lot more than that. But again, it's a really good shingle. With CC Carpentry, Steve's getting a 10-year labor warranty. So any years down the road he has leaks in that time frame, he would call us to come service it for him. But the roof takes a day.
How can you get it done in one day?
So, well, the guys, for one, that are doing it, I've been using this crew for probably the past about 2.5 years. But they know what they're doing. There is, of course, one guy here that's kind of the crew chief. That's definitely, directing everyone and telling them what to do. But they have the guys on the roof knowing who's shingling at one point. They have 2 or 1 people on the ground typically at all times kind of cleaning up. So when everything is done, it's not just some crazy mess and it's like, oh my gosh, it's getting dark, we got to get done. That has happened before, and I understand from their point, doing a whole roof, that's the last thing they want to do. But I guess amazing that you get a whole roof project kind of done like that in one day.
That is impressive, yes.
So, but again, when the guys know what they're doing and like I said, they're organized, it definitely helps. And also too, having the right amount of people here. If there was only 3 or 4 people here, it would probably take 2 days to complete your roof and definitely do it the right way and properly.
So I'm assuming there's times of years you can't do this. I mean, like if there's a heavy thunderstorm, you can't be up there pulling shingles. But what about the winter time? Does that affect your work?
So good question. So we are nearing that time of the season, especially where we are at in Virginia. Manufacturer specifications for Owens Corning, probably most shingles like GAF and CertainTeed and stuff, is when the temperature is below 40 degrees, you should not install those shingles because they will not seal and cure properly, which in that turn would, null and void your manufacturer warranty.
That's that little strip of tar that glues the shingle tabs to each other.
Correct. So we're still in a good time. I would say this is the roofer's funnest time to roof because it's not super hot, it's not super cold. It's really nice for them. So
well, it's got to be miserable when it's above 90 out there.
That's another actually good question about that, at least about the heat aspect of things. I know we're not in any detriment of the heat wave coming through right now.
Not right now, no.
If they dropped a hammer on accident, you probably could see that impression a lot easier. Whether if they did it tomorrow, probably wouldn't do a thing.
Okay.
But sometimes if it's too hot, like I said, you could leave some of those markings that might, like I said, indent it, and then when it's that hot, it kind of seals, and then when it, most roofers are going to tell you they're going to want to roof no matter what because they want to work and everything. So I mean,
they want to get paid. I get that.
Yep, I do too. But that's also too at the same point we look. I look at it as again from a safety thing. I know they want to work too, but if it's 110, 115 degrees up there and you're up there from 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. That's a lot on anybody. You could easily, get dehydrated and someone fall off the roof. Now, doing this for 9 years of doing a roof when it's too hot, that you notice a lot of the markings from the guys just being up there. Like I said, their foot impressions because the shingles are so hot. Like I said, they're kind of so malleable.
Makes them too soft.
Exactly. So, and then I've seen a roof go up when it's too cold and the shingles have buckled. Really, from the end of September to right about now, November-ish, December, is great for them because it's 70s to 60 degrees and it's not
comfortable working, but it's still good temperature for the shingles.
Absolutely.
That is a much better looking ridge vent. And I almost forgot. Here's the finished product.